Welcome to This Daring Adventure podcast, where we work on bridging the gap between where we are and where we want to be in order to live a bigger and bolder life. In this podcast, we will provide inspiration, tips, and skills you need to make your life the adventure you want it to be. Here's your host, mindset mentor, and life coach, Trista Gurton.
Welcome to another episode of This Daring Adventure. I'm doing it a little differently this week. I had meant to record an episode for you before I left on my vacation, my solo retreat in Nepal, but my allergies flared up, and so I sounded very stuffed up and very terrible. And then the day I was leaving, I was going to try and record a quick episode, but of course, that day got away from me. It was quite busy trying to get organized and out the door to the airport. So here I am. I am in Nepal. I arrived here last Saturday, and now I've been here. I guess this is the 5th day already. I have a couple more days, and I've spent a couple of days in Kathmandu. And then I've come out of Kathmandu to a resort where I have complete peace and quiet. And it's been really an ideal location for me to sit and think and write and plan. And so I wanted to go over a little bit of that today for you. I had hoped that I would see more of the Himalayas. The resort does have a view, but the clouds are not cooperating. That being said, I did get up yesterday and had the most amazing view. I have a huge balcony, and I woke up to the birds chirping and the sky's clear. And I was able to see Annapurna and almost the whole range in front of me. And I was able to have breakfast and sit there and drink my coffee and look out. And it stayed clear for part of the day, but then I woke up today and it's completely cloudy. Anyway, still have a couple of more mornings, so hopefully tomorrow things will be back to clear. Anyway, the whole point of this episode was to give you an overview of what I've been doing here and why I recommend so highly doing a solo retreat for yourself. Spending time alone, getting away from your routine, having the space and the time to think, which we don't have when we're running in day-to-day work and family and all the extras that we have to do. So I have made sure that I have amped up my meditation, my tapping, my yoga, my reading, and my journaling. And I've made that a priority. It's a part of my everyday routine in the morning anyway, but I have carried it out throughout the day. And it's been nice to have that time and that space to think and to explore. I have used a template to start by Dr. Benjamin Hardy, who does a 1-page report. And I did this for Q1 and I've done this for Q2. And it's fairly simple. It includes a section on what your goals are, what you've achieved, and what your goals are for the next. It can be year, quarter, or month. I've done quarters, although I do break it down into the next month. These goals for the quarter and for the month feed into what I want to accomplish for 2024. So I have goals for 2024. I break those goals down into for the quarter, and then I break it down into what I'm going to accomplish for April. I also did a review on my past quarter. To be honest, January and February were a little bit of a slow start. So most of what I've accomplished and most of what I've done really focused on March. I was very precise in what I wanted to accomplish in March. And so it was mainly what I looked at, what I was reviewing that, and just looking at what I wanted to accomplish, what I did actually accomplish, celebrating those wins and those successes, and then planning out what comes next. I really appreciated the simplicity of just doing one page. I think it's very easy. It's very doable. It doesn't give you a lot of room to wander and get lost and get confused, but it does keep you focused and very precise, which is helpful. I have also done a lot of work over the past few days on who I am becoming. And I've talked a little bit about this over the past few weeks in other episodes. And looking at what do I want to give up so that I am more focused on accomplishing my goals and who I am becoming and how I can become her now. The idea is not that you decide who you want to become and then you work your way there and you become her at some point in the future. The idea is that you decide now who you want to become and then you start becoming her now. The journey is certainly to solidify that, to incorporate her, to embody her in a way that is distilled down and intrinsic to who you are, but it's not something that happens down the road. Who you decide to be now and incorporating that into your day to day. And so that it becomes a part of who you are. And I have to do a little bit more thinking about what I want to give up because my initial reaction is that I don't have anything to give up. It's, I had to call myself on because obviously that's not true. But it was very difficult, and it still is difficult to understand exactly where that wiggle room is. And I think when it comes to my business, and probably when it comes to a bit of my day job, there is room there. And again, it's just being precise and figuring that out. But in my personal life and somehow my after hours or my extracurricular, it's difficult for me to imagine giving anything up. I feel like I'm fairly focused. I feel like I use my time wisely. I know I could be a little bit more consistent in some areas. And I think there probably are a couple of things I could give up. I somehow feel that I could just be more consistent and more disciplined when it comes to things like exercise and yoga, and certainly taking care of myself physically, getting that exercise in, I think is something that is really important that I've neglected. I've done a little bit of it, so I haven't given up completely on it, but I feel like it certainly is something that I need to be spending more time on. And that would contribute to my overall health and being and my ability to focus and my mental health as well. Anyway, I still need to give some thought to that, obviously. But it's been an interesting exercise because there really has been that resistance to identifying areas to give up or things to give up. And I think it's normal. I think it's very natural. It's normal for my brain to say, no, everything's fine. What could you possibly give up? What's not serving you? And it tends to be, of course, my mind goes to some of the things that I enjoy, to some of the things that I'm just doing for fun. And do I really want to give those up? Something to think about. Definitely something I'm going to work on in the next few days. And it's just been a really great opportunity to rest and recharge and to have that space and that time to just breathe and to rest and to really just enjoy the peace and the quiet. The peace and the quiet is not something that I get on a day-to-day basis where I live currently. And this has just been such a release to have that space and that time. And probably I could use another week. 2 weeks would have been ideal, but I plan to take some time off in May as well. So I decided to only take 1 week right now and take another week in May. I tend to really enjoy time alone, probably more than the average person. Certainly my lifestyle, the work that I've done as a humanitarian aid worker, I've lived in places, and just by the very nature of the work and the situations that I find myself living in, I've spent a lot of time alone. And I've grown accustomed to it, and I've grown to really appreciate it. And sometimes I do worry that I've gone too far the other way, that and now enjoy it too much to the detriment of having more relationship and deeper relationships. But at this point, I'm not willing to change anything. And I don't feel that I'm isolated. I don't feel that I'm missing out on anything. I think I am in a period of my life right now where spending this time alone and doing some of this really deep, meaningful self-development work is exactly what I want and exactly what I need. And it is exactly where I want to be. And that's not to say that things won't change down the road. Probably they will. But I am just enjoying this phase of my life where I have this opportunity to spend this time alone. You don't need to spend that much time alone. You don't need to spend as much time with me alone. But I do highly recommend it. And I know some people worry that they're going to be bored and that they won't know what to do with themselves. And it does take some getting used to. But it is such a great opportunity to get to know yourself, to build that relationship with yourself, to gain that self-awareness, to spend the time on things that are really important to you, completely uninhibited by what someone else wants to do or any of the constraints that you may face in your day-to-day life. And maybe they're not constraints, but they're just obligations, they're demands, they are other interests that you have, relationships, all those. But just taking that bit of time for yourself can be really nourishing and recharging, and it's important work. So even if it's not a week, even if it's just an hour or two wherever you can fit it in, it's important. I do highly recommend it if you have the opportunity. It might take some getting used to, which is fair enough. Anything new, anything different, it does take a bit of work to get used to, but I think you'll find it worthwhile in the end. All right. So that's my sort of improvised podcast episode for the week. I probably will do another one, perhaps a couple of days after I return, just to summarize what I've discovered and how I'm going to move forward into Q2. I definitely have a lot more energy going into this quarter than I did at the beginning of the year, which is good. It's an exciting time. I'm really looking forward to the next few months just to have that opportunity to create and to share my work with you and with my clients. Thanks for tuning in. I will talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to This Daring Adventure podcast with your host, Trista Gurton. We hope you enjoyed the tips and conversations on how to get excited about life again. As always, you can head to tristagurton.com for additional resources and to book a one-on-one coaching session. You can also follow Trista on Instagram at Trista V. Gurton. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review us on Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.